Being a human takes effort. Having a good heart is a wonderful place to start, but being human requires growth. It requires learning. It requires advancement. It requires advancement. From the time that we're born, we're learning. We're learning how to share with our caregivers our cues for when we're hungry, when we're tired, when we need a hug. We're learning how to crawl, how to walk, how to run. We're learning how to read, how to write, and not just write, but hopefully actually write, as in write our expression. We're learning how to get along with other kids at school. We're learning how to please our parents and our teachers while not abandoning ourselves. And that's where the kicker comes in. Most humans spend the greater years of their development time frame learning how to please other people. Many people didn't get the support and love and mindfulness that humans thrive in. Going forward, these next generations, they're going to get that. These next generations are getting the mindfulness. These generations are getting the skills and the tools to develop their mental health and emotional health in the same ways that we've been given tools to develop our physical health. For the last few decades, everyone has focused on physical health, eating healthy, working out, and it has started to progress to mental health because we've realized how sick that we have been. And that mental health comes from emotional health. I cannot tell you, well, I mean, I could tell you, there have been, I was going to say, I can't tell you how many times I've been told. I have been told many times that, okay, so through justification of neglect or abuse or manipulation, I mean, it's all abuse. Let's go that. Through many counts of abuse, they have been validated by people close to those on the other side by saying they have a good heart. Well, every human has a heart. And everyone is born innately good. Everything that happens after that is due to their upbringing, their surroundings. And not to say any fault at the people of their upbringing, because those generations didn't know either. I'm just saying these situations exist with legitimate causes. So people might be born with a good heart, but we're also born with a nervous system. And that nervous system is going to override that heart if it is not developed into a strong nervous system with a strong mindset, with strong emotional values. When our heart and our mind and our body, when all those interact with each other, a lot of times there's conflicts, and getting those in balance isn't easy. I recently just shared a post on my Instagram story. I'm not exactly sure what reel it was, but the moral of the story was that, now I forgot. It, basically, wisdom takes work. Wisdom doesn't just come to you. You earn wisdom, you experience wisdom. And any person that chooses not to read books to gain wisdom is just the same as someone who can't read. Because in this day and age, to have the world of information at our fingertips, if a person has a flaw, we feel our own flaws or someone's telling us about our flaws. It is our responsibility as a human to manage that. It is our responsibility as a human to improve and to work on things that maybe aren't the best qualities to have, especially if it hurts other people. If you have qualities that in turn hurt other people, you better be reading books. You better be listening to the podcast. You better be finding an Instagram account to follow. You can't just slide through life. Especially a lot of do people think they're done after being a child? Like, okay, I'm 18, I'm an adult, I'm in the big world. My parents taught me everything I need to know and now I'm done. Like, that's not how it works. If anything, your 20s and 30s are undoing things that your parents taught you because that generation didn't know the right way. Those previous generations were coming from war and struggle. We're still struggling as the rich create wealth imbalance and inflation. Everything goes up except wages, and minimum wage stays down. Everything goes up except brackets for people that are in brackets to receive help. They can't fit in those brackets to receive help anymore. Anyways, that's a different tangent. It is our responsibility to ourselves and to society to do the work. If you're an emotionally unavailable person, there's tools for that. If you're a person that angers easily when milk is spilt, there's tools for that. If you're someone that has trust issues, intimacy issues, there's so many people that are chronic liars and they don't even know it. I mean, they don't even know it, but that's the thing. If someone's telling you that there's something they see and you don't take responsibility to consider that and work on that, then what are you doing here as a human? You're just coasting through. You just want to forever be that child that was conditioned. You don't want to grow into a person of your own to see what your soul is capable of. Our nervous system is such a key point of it. Most people's nervous system kicks in when they're feeling a sense of danger or not being heard or misunderstood. And then there's times some people's nervous system kicks in when they feel love. Can you imagine that? Having your nervous system tell you to run and flee and shut down when someone's trying to love you or communicate with you. And some people have to deal with, some people are in relationships where they're so afraid to cook a meal wrong because that will result in them getting choked out or thrown across the room or a gun put to their head. Those are real nervous system responses. And also, if you've been through those situations, it wasn't your fault that you were in those situations. But unfortunately, it is your responsibility to learn how to turn that around and how to feel safe again. So the same as it is for someone who's been abused and manipulated, to have to relive those experiences to be able to allow the emotions to surface so you can process them. The same goes for people that are shy in love and intimacy. Many people avoid feeling connected to others. Many people avoid feeling connected to themselves. And that's the tricky part. It's impossible to connect to another person until you know yourself. And that's where the reading comes in. You can't just be yourself from the foundation that you were given as a child. Especially if you're alive right now, you're alive during this time frame to take advantage of all these tools and all these resources and all the mentors and coaches. You're here to dive into your soul and make it the best that you can, to shine it the best you can, to radiate that out. It's your responsibility to not pass your problems and traumas onto another person or onto the next generation. It's your responsibility to make sure that you're taking the steps necessary to get your nervous system aligned with your very good heart. It's your responsibility to understand how to interact with other humans. As an adult, you become able to respond. As a child, if we did something wrong, it was our parents' job to correct us and redirect us. And many parents didn't have that skill or the knowing. And for generations and generations and generations, traumas and habitual bad habits, manipulations, emotional guardance, all those items have been passed down generation to generation. And the reason why I can remain so hopeful and ignore the news of what's going on in the world is because I fully believe that it's our responsibility to be the change that we want to see in the world and worry about our own bubble first. And so if I can work on my own bubble first, if I can work on how to describe what I'm feeling to someone in a healthy way, or to notice when I am becoming dysregulated and being able to work with that, like, we're already changing the world. You are already changing the world. Diving into the self-help world and self-transformation is not an easy task. For one, you have to be strong and confident in yourself that you don't spiral down into the victimhood, poor me, why am I like this? I'm such a horrible person. I should just die. Like, that's not what we're going for. And you have to be strong enough to go there, to go and see your negative qualities and know that those negative qualities are part of you and worth being there. But you can't get lost in those negative qualities, and you have to understand that you have the power and you have the light to rise above them, to change them, to become better. The tools are there, but you can't allow your nervous system to make you afraid of it. I've loved many people that have had a good heart, but a not so good nervous system. And those people have damaged my nervous system, and they have damaged my heart. It is so hard to choose things. There are many times I even thought I was choosing things accurately. I would see red flags and I would justify them, and I would think, I mean, there were even times I was using my previous trauma experiences to justify a current experience where I was like, well, this is kind of a red flag, but, this doesn't fit my values. But maybe just because I've been traumatized, I'm not seeing clearly. Maybe because I don't have butterflies, that means this is a safe relationship. Maybe because of this, that means that they're secure. And I've been wrong. I've been wrong over and over. And I keep trying to get it right over and over. But the point is that I'm doing the work. I'm learning with each mistake. I'm taking accountability for the things that I need to improve. And you can too. We're all our own worst critic, except it seems to be in the wrong ways. Usually the things that we're our own worst critic in aren't even the problem. Pay attention to what people are reflecting back to you, because the things that you usually need to work on the most are things people aren't going to point out to you. Flat out, a lot of time people aren't strong enough to have that conversation, to critique you like that. But relationships, whether it's a friendship or a romantic or a coworker or a family member, relationships are our mirrors that show us where the work needs to be done. But only if we're paying attention. Only if we accept it. Only if we have an open mind and think that maybe these people might be right. They're saying this, they might be right. Let me look into that. And a lot of times, if you find yourself reacting in a certain way, you can cross-reference that, and you can usually find a root problem. And if you need help, hire a life coach. I'm not sure. Therapy is great. It makes you feel good in the moment. But even then, every moment of every therapy session that I've had has ended in me coming out being like, well, it felt great to talk and ramble to a stranger about whatever I wanted, someone that didn't know the backstory, someone that I got to choose what backstory I told them. I get to paint the picture. And it's nice to be able to let things out to people that aren't in your circle so that you don't feel like you're bad mouthing people in the circle and you're not spreading gossip. And the story that you choose to share with a therapist will shed a lot of light to the story that you're choosing to tell to yourself. And in those aspects, that's great. But also, those are things that a life coach can do for you. I'm not sure the difference between therapy and a life coach, other than I think therapists have more ability to prescribe medication, which even then I don't think they do. I think they have to be working with a psychologist as a co-partner at the very least in order to. And so if you have there's definitely pills out there that can do things. I've been on pills many times. Have they ever worked for me? No, but it's given me something to distract myself for a time frame so that I could say I was doing the work while I was doing the actual work. I've never stayed on pills long enough for them to work. And maybe that's my bad. But chemicals scare me. There are real situations where chemicals can be helpful. And it's probably best to give them the time that the doctors say to give them. I've never had that patience. They've made me feel numb before they've made me feel balanced, and that scared me. Because I am a creature of emotions. I live through my emotions. If I don't have my emotions there to guide me, what do I have? Because the brain isn't legit. The brain goes off of patterns and past experiences. And then it creates stories for you to try and predict the future, but it can't predict the future. Now, if the pills are shutting off access to my heart, where's my access to source? Where's my soul? I need my emotions to guide me. What feels right? What feels wrong? And then you need the strength and the confidence and the wisdom to help you back up those choices of what feels right and what feels wrong without letting the brain come in to rationalize things that shouldn't be rationalized. You know what you're doing. If you have a good heart, you know what you're doing. I think a lot of us want an outcome, or we desire something so badly that we allow our brain to rational things to be good for us when we know they aren't good for us. I've had friends and partners that I could see the work that they needed to have done. And some friends are doing that work, and it's beautiful. And I see them change and blossom and become closer to their soul. And I've seen people that avoid that work. They're the same person they were 10 years ago. So are you skirting by with all the same patterns psychology's nervous system habits? Are you skirting by on all the things that you were taught as a child? Are you taking into account everything that you've learned as an adult? Are you taking into account that you are an adult and you have the ability to learn and grow and improve and adjust? It's hard work. It's painful. I've spent a lot of time crying over things and feeling the pain. You know, they say not to get in a relationship with someone that's emotionally unavailable. And that's true, because they can't give you what you need. And if they can't give you what you need, that's going to end up feeling like neglect and abuse. But also, you're setting yourself up for even more pain because, like, the pain's going to be really one-sided. When things end, if you're the one with all the emotions, you're still going to be the one with all the emotions while they move on because they aren't in touch with their emotions or they shove them down. And that's really painful to watch. It's painful to watch humans not embrace their emotions, not embrace the closeness of what their heart can offer if they allow it. It's really hard to do these videos. I gain my wisdom through my experiences, and it's really hard to share the wisdom that I learned from my experiences without directly reflecting to my experiences. And if you're someone that knows me personally, then the theory of judgment comes in as like, oh, they might think I'm talking about this person or that person. And I will say most of the time that you think you probably know who I'm talking about, you're probably wrong. I have 4 decades worth of friendships and relationships and engagements and jobs. And I mean, I've moved like 16 times total in my life. I don't know. I've moved a lot. So don't judge me for saying things and thinking I'm talking about someone that you know and think that I'm bad mouthing someone, because I'm not. And also, if people feel shamed that people are bad mouthing them, then maybe they shouldn't be doing that behavior that invokes the bad mouthing. And I'm not bad mouthing. I'm simply sharing the different spectrums that I have personally witnessed and experienced. These aren't things that I've read from a book. I mean, they are, but I learned them from experience first and then reference to books that help gain insight and introspection as to what the situations meant, how to move on, how to integrate, how to move forward, how to not repeat mistakes. If you find yourself repeating patterns, it's going to keep happening until you do the work. When are you going to learn the lesson? When are you going to do the work? It's hard to admit that we suck. It's hard to admit that we might need work. But is it? We're human. We're designed to be constantly working on ourselves and improve on ourselves. We're designed to improve. Our brain and nervous system are connected in patterns and habits. We're designed to be able to recognize those and adjust those patterns and habits. We're designed for evolution. Why is that so scary? Embrace it. Now go find a book to read for the next month, or a podcast to listen to a couple times a week while you're getting ready in the morning. Because any man that chooses not to read is just the same as any man that can't read. Wisdom is earned. Go and do the work.